Basketball talk like you've never heard before. It's time for the most exciting basketball podcast, starring NBA great Damon Jones and Jake from Jake's Takes. Get ready for Ballin Out with Jake and Damon.
Welcome to Ballin Out. I'm Jake, and I want to introduce my co-host, NBA great Damon Jones. What's up, Damon?
What's going on, Jake? Having a good time, man. Getting ready for this Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Excited to see what Giannis is going to do in Game 2.
I'm also excited, but before that, we got to welcome back our friends, Mitch and Stan from the Volume Shooters podcast. What's up, Mitch and Stan? How you doing?
Well, not much is up. Everything's been down. I've been pretty much just holed up in my basement, eating liquid foods and crying all day about what happened to my Brooklyn Nets. Very unfortunate sequence of events, that led James Harden to lose one of his legs in the middle of the series and Kyrie Irving to land on Giannis's foot. And I don't know, man, I can't shake it. I watch the games now, but, with tears in my eyes because Nets are supposed to be here. So it's tough for me to watch basketball right now. I got to be honest with you.
No comment.
Listen, I'm very happy to be here, Jake. I'm in a good mood. It's the NBA Finals. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Mitch, you can be crying and eating liquids. We're excited. Let's go.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that was a joke, but it did take me. I couldn't really watch the conference finals. I couldn't watch the Hawks and the Bucks. That really hurt me, but I'm very into this Bucks-Suns series. So in truth, I am excited about it. I'm very excited about it.
So we're going to start today's show by looking around the league for some of the NBA headlines and stories to discuss. So let's start balling out by taking a tour around the NBA. We got to start with the NBA Finals. Game 2 is on tonight. And a few things I saw that was very interesting in Game 1 was that Giannis was taking the center position. So that led to Lopez having to take Chris Paul on those pick and rolls. That did not end up well. And then another thing I saw was Booker just getting to the line almost like James Harden. I gotta see what you guys think about this. What do you think, Damon?
Well, one thing Mike Budenholzer is going to have to do in this, and not only in Game 2, but for the rest of this series, he's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to play Giannis Antetokounmpo at the 5? And putting him at the 5 gives him a better chance at guarding Phoenix's pick and roll game, because that's what they do. They are a pick and roll basketball team on the offensive end, and to keep Brook Lopez off switching on to Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they're going to have to take him off the floor, and they're going to have to put Giannis at the 5.
David, this is Stan. Let me ask you, does it make sense, though, with DeAndre Ayton being a total weapon on offense to take Lopez off? Because wouldn't Giannis get into foul trouble potentially?
Not really, because they're not featuring DeAndre Ayton in the post. He's getting a lot of his stuff off pick and roll action. Now, if they were going to give you a steady diet of posting up DeAndre Ayton, then you would say you want to put Brook Lopez in the game. But 85% of Phoenix's offense has been all pick and roll. So with that being said, you want to have better matchups out there if they're going to switch 1 through 5.
Mitch, what do you think?
I love that conversation about the bigs. I think that's a great chat. And I love the conversation focusing on Phoenix's offense. But if I could go in a different direction, I'll leave this up to you, Jake, and maybe Damon. I'd love to get your thoughts. The key for me in this series, which didn't happen for Milwaukee in Game 1, is the fact that when Giannis hyperextended his knee at the end of the conference finals, Drew Holiday became the $150 million man again. Drew Holiday remembered that not only is he a top 10 NBA defender, he can really score. He can fill up the bucket. But Drew Holiday seems to forget that he's an offensive weapon when Giannis is on the floor. And I don't really understand it because Chris Middleton fills his role, which is that mid-range jumper. And Giannis, his role is to maybe clear it out and let him just run to the hole. But Drew Holiday brings a different element. He brings the ability to penetrate, draw defenders, double team, knock down threes. I just don't understand how Drew, we need an intervention. We need all the Holiday brothers. There's 12 Holiday brothers playing in the NBA. We need everybody to come and Mama Holiday get on the phone and tell Drew to shoot the basketball because
be aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, if he's aggressive, they're gonna. I think they're gonna win the series. If he's aggressive, it just changes the whole game for the Bucks.
I completely agree, Damon. What do you think happens when a player like Holiday, the end of the conference finals, he was electric? What do you think happens when a guy like Giannis comes back and Drew Holiday disappears like that? What do you think is going on there?
Well, I mean, it's a tough dynamic. I'll give it to you from a coach's perspective. We had what we thought was the big three in Cleveland with Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love.
Yep.
And it's tough to share the basketball with three guys at the same time. So what Mike Budenholzer would have to do is he would have to mix and match the minutes to where Drew Holiday is probably out there with that second unit without Giannis for him to be aggressive. But to ask him to be aggressive with Middleton and Giannis on the floor at the same time, you also have to get those guys involved as well. So it's tough, but as a coach, you just have to figure out minutes and where, you could get Drew in a position to be totally aggressive like he was in the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe he'll play better. He'll shoot the ball a little bit more. But when all three of those guys out there and he's the point guard, he has to get those other guys involved.
You know what else happens if he's not aggressive offensively? He's letting Chris Paul, who's no young man anymore, he's letting him only play one side of the court. So Paul can save all his energy for offense because he's not really defending him. Drew's not running around screens. He's not trying to get open. So, I feel like he's letting Chris Paul off the hook. You got to make Chris Paul work for it a little more.
Yeah. But the Bucks' best offense though in the conference finals was when the Middleton and Giannis were in a 2-man game because you couldn't stop it. I just really wish they would go back to that. I know Bridges is a pretty good defender, but Phoenix doesn't have an answer for that size really, do they? I mean, Saric is now hurt. I don't know who's gonna take Lopez off the floor. I agree with you. Put Forbes out there as another shooter and play Middleton and Giannis together and let it go pick and roll, right?
Yes,
is that what you would do, Damon?
Well, the tough part about that is that, in this day and age, everybody's switching pick and roll. So if you have a team like Phoenix has, they're keeping DeAndre Ayton out of the pick and roll, and they're just switching everything. So once you switch, it's hard for an offensive team to combat the switch unless you've went against it all year, and that's something that favors or gives you a favorable matchup. So, okay, Middleton and Giannis run pick and roll. Now Giannis has a smaller guy on him. We want to throw the ball in the post to Giannis, but now what Phoenix is doing, they're double teaming right away, and they're making them swing the ball around the perimeter. By the time it gets to that last guy who's open, there's 1, maybe 2 seconds on the shot clock. So they have to play faster in transition, get up and down the floor, and they have to get into their offense much faster.
I have a question for you, Jake. We're talking a lot of hard-hitting analysis here, but let's get to the stuff that really matters. Forget who's going to win the series. Which team do you like better? Who's more likable, Phoenix or Milwaukee?
Phoenix.
Why is that?
We need Chris Paul to get a ring. At this point, we need him to get a ring. Him, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, there's nothing not to like about this team.
See, I think they're both likable. I don't think either one of these teams has people you don't like. They don't have any villains. They're all just good guys. Giannis, I feel like he finally got to a place where he's a back-to-back MVP, but people are like, yeah, but he's not an all-time great or whatever. So, I would love to see Giannis get a ring. And then on the other side, Chris Paul's story is a fantastic story. Ayton and Booker are so young. They have the rest of their careers. But Chris Paul, I don't know. He's getting up there in age. So, I don't know. I think they're both likable. But, yeah, because Chris Paul's older, I guess I would give them the edge and root for them to get it now while he still can.
These playoffs they don't seem the same. Maybe like a little soft. No, I mean like one reason, two words.
There's too many injuries. I mean, it's unfortunate. If Kawhi Leonard would have played, Phoenix could have been sitting at home now. You know, if Anthony Davis would have played, Phoenix could be sitting at home now. It's kind of hard to tell if everybody was healthy. I know Mitch's answer, but if everybody was healthy, who would be playing right now in the NBA Finals? I don't think it would be Phoenix and Milwaukee. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, LeBron James, when I think of the NBA Finals, I actually think of LeBron James. Not gonna lie. Yeah. He is the NBA Finals.
Yeah, he's only been there 10 out of the last 12 years.
10 times. David, who would be in the finals if everybody was healthy? If it was starting the playoffs over, everybody played every game.
It's great for the league to have new blood.
Probably be Lakers and Brooklyn.
Lakers and Brooklyn, right? Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
But it's great to have the league be showcasing these young guys. Last time we were on Ballin Out together, we talked to one of the storylines was these young guys coming out and taking the mantle from the older guys. And, you know, Devin Booker on one side and Giannis is still pretty young. So it's great for the league to have young guys, you know, potentially become champions. LeBron's won enough. LeBron has won enough.
No,
he needs two more.
The GOAT!
But by the way, the Clippers, they fell short again. They had some injuries, like you said, but to their credit, they battled very hard. I mean, like Reggie Jackson, all these guys, they played really well. What do you guys think about all the Damon? You were actually at all the Clippers games. What's going to be with this team going forward?
Well, I mean, it's going to be tough. You have Kawhi Leonard, who's a free agent this summer. You have player options with Serge Ibaka. You have to do whatever you can to sign Reggie Jackson back. It's going to be interesting to see which way they go as far as player personnel wise. But, you know, the coaching still being there, having 4 more years left on his contract. I like the foundation with Paul George. I like what he did in the playoffs this year. It's all going to depend on what they do with their players and if they're able to re-sign everybody back.
Yeah, I mean,
is Kawhi really going to leave? Is that really a thing, Damon? Is that on the table in Clipperland? Are they nervous about this?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you can never gauge, you know, what Kawhi's thinking. But, you know, I think he chose to go back home to Los Angeles. And, you know, I think that, you know, the way that the season ended this year with him being injured, I would think he would want to come back with the same group and try to see if they could press forward and get past the conference finals and get to the NBA finals.
By the way, Damon, do you think Ty Lue's the best coach in the entire NBA? He's 10-3 in elimination games. 10-3.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, you know, I'm always going to say he's the best coach, not only because he's, you know, considered one of my best friends, but, you know, being on his coaching staff, I got to see, you know, what he was able to do every day as far as adjustments and game plans. So, in my opinion, he is, if not the best, right there, the top 3.
I think that the Clippers postseason would be remembered most for Paul George's coming out party and for Ty Lue starting to get some of the respect that maybe he deserved all along. People talk all the time about LeBron dragging Ty Lue to championships or whatever it was, and then Kawhi and Jordan. But just like Steve Nash got a lot of credit once Kevin Durant, you know, not Kevin Durant, but once Harden went down and Kyrie went down, Ty Lue got a lot of credit for this run without Kawhi Leonard. It's a lot of adversity, and I started to see him getting a lot of respect around the league. A lot of people were speaking out and saying Ty Lue is doing a fantastic job. He started to really get a lot of props. And I kept thinking about you, Damon, because I guess it's, you know, it's something you've thought all along. So It's nice to get that validation.
Yeah, it is, man. And it's important that, you know, when you put the work in, you know, you start to reap some of the benefits, and people are starting to realize now with what they did this postseason that he is one of the top coaches in the NBA, and I'm glad to see it.
You know, I saw a tweet today from Kevin Durant, who might be the greatest tweeter of all time. Kevin Durant, the only thing about Kevin Durant that's better than his basketball game is his Twitter game. Man, that guy's on fire. Anyway, he retweeted a Kendrick Perkins tweet where I don't know how you are with Kendrick, Damon. I don't know if you guys are boys, but Kendrick said, let me introduce Mark Bryant. He's one of the top assistant coaches in the game. He doesn't get enough credit. Ask Dwight Howard, Serge Ibaka, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook about his impact. Here's a guy, I follow the league. I never heard of him. I've never really seen him before. Assistant coach. And Kevin Durant retweeted that, and he said, talk about it. You know, basically saying that he agrees. And,
Yeah.
It's great when a guy is like just putting in the work and nobody realizes, and he's really helping guys. And, you know, all of a sudden the Suns are maybe, you know, a few wins away from a championship. Maybe you never heard of this guy. Maybe this guy's a big candidate next season for a great head coaching job. So love to see it. You know, you love to see guys like that get credit.
Of course.
Can I just go back to Chris Paul for a second? Because I don't know, the Chris Paul, maybe I'm just a cynical guy. The Chris Paul love to me, it feels like it's a little bit like, I don't know, it seems like a little forced. Like, Damon, what were the players you played against Chris Paul for your whole career? Like, what was the view of him by other players around the league? Because I always thought that some players that played against him didn't like him. He was a bit of a complainer. You know, sometimes led by example, a little too aggressively. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but what was his reputation around the league, and what did you feel like playing against him during your career? I'm just kind of curious.
Well, I mean, guys always respected Chris because, you know, he was going to put the work in. He was going to put the work in night in, and when you played against him, you always had to be prepared because he was going to have his teams prepared. Yes, he leads, you know, vocally, and some guys it rubs some guys the wrong way. But one thing you're going to get the best of Chris Paul every single night. He's not going to take nights off. And, you know, what he's done over a 17-year career, he's taken a lot of criticism for a lot of things that were out of his control. You know, he often got injured in big moments. But he's showing right now that he's taking advantage of the moment. And I hope, you know, once it's all said and done, he's able to win his first championship.
So Bulls had a player who was also a little too intense and rubbed some people the wrong way. He wore number 23. Anybody familiar with that guy?
Yeah, so did the Lakers, number 24. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jake. What's up next?
Everyone loves a good old-fashioned, passionate debate. So now on Ballin' Out, it's time to duke it out. These playoffs, we saw Trae Young take his game to another level, taking his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and just falling short of the NBA Finals. Time to revisit the trade for Luka trade on draft night. What do you think, Damon?
Well, you know, I'm a big Trae Young guy, and what he did in this postseason is something that, you know, I felt he was capable of doing since coming into the league. Just unfortunately, his first couple years, he was with an Atlanta Hawks team that didn't have very much talent. But when they went out and signed veterans and brought in Nate McMillan as the coach, you know, he flourished into, you know, a budding superstar. And I think that if anybody says that Luka is head and shoulders over Trae Young, I'm going to debate that because I think those guys are even, and he showed that this year in the playoffs.
Damon, what did he show? That he's one of the worst efficient players in the league? 41% from the field, 31% from three, and 48% efficient field goal percentage? That's awful. And Luka was 49% from the field, 41% from three, and 57% efficient field goal percentage? That's just awful. The only reason Trae got to the Eastern Conference Finals was because, number one, he played the Knicks in the first round. No disrespect, New York, but the Knicks? And the second, that's like being the 1 seed playing the 8 seed. And then number two is because he's got Herter, he's got Bogey, He's got all these players to bail him out. In Game 7 against Philly, he literally had a game where he combined Joel Embiid's 8 turnovers, Tobias Harris's field goal percentage, and Ben Simmons' scoring rate. That's awful. And you're saying he's better than Luka Doncic.
Number one, I want to know something, Jake. I want to know if Trae Young was sitting right in front of you, if you would say that to his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jake, you're on Luka Doncic's payroll or something. I'm telling you love that guy.
All I'm saying to you is this, Jake, and this is what I want you to understand about this game. And the bottom line is Luka Doncic was up 2-0 on the road, going home for Game 3, and lost both games at home. Then went back to LA, wins Game 5 and up 3-2, and you got 2 games to win 1, and your guy didn't do it.
Wait, so you're saying
Trae Young against the number 1 seeded Philadelphia 76ers.
He did not do it. No, he didn't.
Went into Philadelphia for Game 7
and shot terribly.
And his team got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kevin Huerter decided to be Kevin Huerter. Okay, if Luka Doncic put up, what was it, 48 points, 46 points, something like that in a Game 7, and his team didn't come through, was not him.
But Dan, if you were drafting right now, you would take Luka ahead of Trae Young, though, right? You would agree with that, right?
No.
Oh my God.
It would be a debate.
Excuse me?
You know, that 2018 draft class, we're talking about DeAndre Ayton. You're disrespecting the fact that DeAndre Ayton went number 1. We're talking about the number 2 and the number 5 pick.
3.
And we're forgetting that 3. We're forgetting DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley. Respect to Marvin Bagley, I guess.
Casualty.
Like, they're about to back that Brinks truck up for DeAndre Ayton. He's going to get paid a lot of money this summer. So that draft class, 3 of those guys in the top 5 could be top players in the league going forward. And that's, but yeah, listen, dude, hey, if you're not going to acknowledge that Luka Doncic has some questions to answer now, then we're just not talking the same language here because, I mean, Luka, that is so disappointing that he didn't come through. Trae Young silenced the critics again and again and again with the target on his back. So
you're not looking at the right stats. You're not looking at the right stats. That is.
Man, I'm with David on this one.
I'm sorry.
Trained for years.
You want to say someone didn't?
There's one other thing, Jake. Though, is that there's something going on in Dallas because after the season, their entire organization got fired. Something's happening there besides for what's on the court, right? So I don't know if Luka has anything to do with that, but I would imagine as the best player in the franchise, he had something to do with it. So I wonder if Luka Doncic is a bit of a prima donna. I don't know. Like, there's other things to consider here besides just on the court basketball.
Yeah, and Trae Young seems to have taken the city of Atlanta on his back.
Oh my goodness!
He loves them. Stan's beat up a good point. It's not just on the court, also.
Well, by the way, Mitch, if you're gonna blame someone for not showing up, blame Kristaps Porzingis. Blame the rest of the Mavericks team.
Kristaps Porzingis is not important enough for me to blame at this point. That ship has sailed. He's not that good anymore.
Exactly. So who do you think? You think the Mavericks are a one-man team? You think they can win a series being a one-man team? Tell me.
I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
Jake, let me ask you this question. And I want you to be totally honest. If Trae Young wasn't on the Atlanta Hawks, would they have made the Eastern Conference Finals?
No.
Huh?
No.
All right, then. That's the answer to your question.
But he was the one that choked in a Game 7.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
No. Listen.
I'm gonna bang the gavel.
Be honest. Right now. Be honest. Okay. Game 7. Philly, Atlanta. Philly's the one choking it. They're giving Trae and Atlanta the game. He shot like 36%.
But Jake, he's actually a really good passer though. Trae Trae Young had a few alley-oops to Capella and to others that like led to baskets. It wasn't just his shooting; he did other things on the court. He's a much better, well-rounded player than I originally thought he was. And trust me, I'm with you. I would take Luka before Trae, but I think Trae's a lot better of a player than we give him credit for all around.
Yeah,
not just long-range shooting.
If we could juxtapose point guards here, he shot 36%. Well, let's talk about the fella on the other side, Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons wouldn't shoot 36% because he wouldn't take any shots.
He was open for a time.
Trae's got the stones to step up and try to do what it takes to get to the next level. So I give him props for that. The dude's got confidence, swagger, all of it. You know, Ben Simmons shriveling up and Trae Young stepping up, and that's the story.
But Jake, before we move on, please I need you to answer this question because you avoided when I brought this up. Luka Doncic was up 2-0 going home for games 3 and 4. And when they left Dallas, the series was tied. If you are putting Luka Doncic as top 5, top 6 player in the league, like you always say, since we've been doing this podcast, if you're up 0-2 and you're going home, you have to win one of those games. Yes or no?
Ooh, so you're saying, I love how you said Luka.
The question.
I know. I answered the question, but how come you're saying Luka Doncic? Why is that? Because he's a one-man team. You can't expect a one-man team to go home and try and close out a series.
No, I'm not asking him to close out a series. I'm asking him to win one game at home. And I say Luka Doncic because when we talk about the Dallas Mavericks, that's the only name you bring up.
Yeah, because there's no one else to bring up. No one else.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is pretty good. Kleber's pretty good. You don't like Porzingis, I don't either, but it's not like he's playing with, I don't know, the Sacramento Kings. No disrespect to the Kings, but I mean, there's some talent there. I don't know if that's fair. Jalen Brunson. I like Jalen Brunson. I don't know. They got some players.
We agree to disagree.
All right, we can move on. I'm with Damon.
Right now on Ballin Out, it's time for our spotlight feature on one player in the NBA who's getting noticed and standing out with his play. It's time for Watching You. This week, we're focusing on Giannis Antetokounmpo from the free throw line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone's eyes are on him every time he steps to the line. It's must-see TV. How amazing is that? That a professional basketball player, an MVP for goodness sake, and he misses the basket by a few feet from the free throw line? How is this possible, Damon?
Well, I mean, it's been a struggle for him. Shooting free throws is all mental, and if you struggle for a good amount of time, it's going to take more time to get your confidence back. So, with him being on the road and fans counting, it's really starting to affect his free throw shooting, and it's a tough situation. It's just part of the game that he has to work on. He has to get better. Because late in games, it's tough. As Budenholzer being the coach, do you take him out of the game or do you leave him in? He's your best player. He's your franchise player. You can't show him up by taking him out of the game. So he just has to get better, and that's just what it is, Jake. Some guys have struggles with their game, and you just have to do whatever you can to try to improve.
It's funny. It sounds like my little sister doing her homework. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm so proud of that, honestly, because that started in Brooklyn. The Nets fans at Barclays were the ones that started counting, and it was really loud And, I don't know. We took a lot of shots as a fan base. People said there are no Nets fans, or who are the Nets fans? They don't exist. And we really, we did something good there, and everybody else is picking up on it. So I like that. But I mean, Giannis in the next series, he didn't struggle that badly. He probably shot somewhere between 60 and 70%. He missed a few of them pretty badly, but when they counted, he made them. Nothing like what we saw from Ben Simmons. Damon, you said you take him out at the end of the game. Stan and I did a podcast a couple weeks ago. I think Stan, correct me if I'm wrong, was getting on Doc Rivers for leaving Ben Simmons out there when he was shooting like 30%. What do you think about that? Would you have pulled Simmons at that point?
Well, he's one of the cornerstones of your franchise, and taking him out of the game, late game, shows that you have no trust in him, and that could hurt a young player, more than him staying in the game and continuing to miss his free throws, knowing that the coach has ultimate confidence that he's going to make them and to keep him in the game. So that's what I'm saying. It's coaching is a tough situation, man. You have to make some tough calls, and sometimes in judgment situations, and you just have to do the best you can, not only for that particular game, but for your franchise going forward.
By the way,
sometimes you gotta lose the battle to win the war sometimes. You might lose a game or two, but you'll gain Ben Simmons' trust, and he might win a game for you later on. But it got pretty ridiculous in that series. I mean, his shooting did not improve. They really got hurt at the end. You hate to see it. You don't like somebody to be a scapegoat like that. But I'm a big Joel Embiid fan. I felt really bad for Embiid. I feel like he always leaves it out there and ends up crying. I feel terrible. I feel like he really does put his heart and soul into everything. I like to call him Troel Embiid because he's a big troll. But he's funny. I love the dude, and I feel bad for him.
By the way, Damon was actually talking about how Simmons is a franchise cornerstone, but there's huge rumors going around that Philadelphia is trying to get Lillard, and in order to get Lillard, they gotta give up Ben Simmons. You think they're gonna get anywhere close to a deal that Portland might say yes?
No,
I mean it's gonna have to have something else because Portland's not just gonna trade Dame Lillard for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. I think that the Damon Lillard rumors are, overblown. I think, that's what the offseason is all about. Rumors, who's getting moved, who's going here, who's going there. I think it might be time for Ben Simmons to leave, but I don't think it would be to the Portland Trailblazers for Dame Lillard. I think it's other teams out there that would like to have him and probably have a better package to give than Portland does. But, we'll see. Free agency and, seeing player movement, then teams will look at their roster and see if, they have the necessary pieces they think that they can win going forward.
So, Damon, if I asked you right now, would you think that Ben Simmons will start next season outside of Philadelphia?
I think so. I think it's just, with all the chatter that came after the game when they lost, Doc Rivers saying what he said, Joel Embiid making a reference to, when the game turned for them. It as a player, it's hard to go back into that locker room because, those guys in a situation where, it was tough, we started to point the finger. And it'll be hard for him to go back into that locker room and have ultimate trust in the guys around him. But we'll see. Maybe they can't get what they're looking for by moving him, and they'll just try to, do better next season.
Well, this has been an awesome edition of Ballin Out. We covered lots of topics around the NBA. Wishing you all a fabulous week, and see you next time on... Say it with me, guys. Ballin' Out.